The British Museum. Sub-Basement 3. Department of Anomalous Antiquities. My name is Dr. Nathaniel Ashcroft, Senior Archivist, Custodian of Restricted Collections. What you are about to hear has been recovered from sealed files, letters, journals, and testimonies once thought too disturbing for public record. Every statement you hear is drawn from Britain's forgotten centuries, the whispered history that hides between faith and fear. These are the National Occult Archives, filed, preserved, never closed. The following document was never intended for public release. Case file NOA1572. Classification: Testimony of a prison chaplain. Date of statement: 18th March 1572. Location: Newgate Prison, London. Author: Father Edmund Blackwood. Prison chaplain. Testimony regarding the condemned cell. I, Father Edmund Blackwood, chaplain to the prisoners of Newgate, do testify about the cell numbered 7 on the lower level. No man sentenced to death will spend his final night in that place. They beg to be moved elsewhere. They weep like children and claw at the door. The wardens know this truth and no longer force the matter. I first learned of the trouble when a condemned man named Thomas Ray refused to enter the cell. He was a murderer, guilty beyond doubt, yet he screamed that something waited inside. The wardens dragged him to another cell. He went to the gallows the next morning without complaint. I thought him merely afraid of death itself, but others reacted the same way. A thief named John Marrow lasted only moments inside before pounding on the door. He said a woman stood in the corner watching him. She wore a grey dress and her hollow eyes never blinked. When the wardens opened the door, the cell was empty. I decided to spend a night there myself. I am a man of God and do not fear the darkness. I brought candles and my Bible. The cell was cold, despite the summer heat. I read scripture aloud to calm my nerves. At midnight, my candle went out. All 3 candles died at once, though there was no wind. I heard breathing that was not my own. It came from the corner where the condemned man had seen the woman. I struck my flint and relit a candle. The corner was empty, but the breathing continued. Then I heard words spoken in a voice like rustling leaves. She said the same thing over and over. 7 days. 7 days. 7 days. I do not know what she meant. I called out asking who she was. The breathing stopped. The cell became colder still. I felt certain that something moved closer to me in the darkness. My candle flickered though the air was still. I saw no shape but felt a presence standing before me. Cold fingers touched my face. I cried out and fled the cell. The wardens found me in the corridor. I have since learned that 7 people passed peacefully in that cell long ago. All were women accused of witchcraft. They were held there 7 days before their trials. None survived the questioning that followed. Now I understand what cannot leave that place. She counts the days still. She waits in the corner where they left her. Every condemned man who enters feels her watching. They hear her counting. 7 days. The cell remains in use for storage now. No living soul spends the night within those walls. Father Edmund Blackwood, prison chaplain, Newgate Prison, London, the 18th March, 1572. Archivists, note, Dr. Nathaniel Ashcroft. Records confirm 7 women died during interrogation at Newgate in 1571. Cell 7 was sealed in 1580 for unexplained reasons. Later architectural plans show the space redesignated as storage. End of file. Proceeding to next recovered document. The following document was never intended for public release. Case file NOA164-1T. Classification: Account of a village doctor. Date of statement: 2nd November 1641. Location: Dartmoor, Devon. Author: Dr. William Ashford, physician. Account of the moorland sickness. Why? Dr. William Ashford, physician to the villages of eastern Dartmoor. Do record the strange affliction that took hold in autumn. It began with Margaret Hale, a widow who lived alone near the old stone circle. She came to me complaining of voices. She heard children singing outside her cottage every night. The songs were in a language she did not recognize. I prescribed rest and a tonic for her nerves. 3 days later, she returned in a worse state. The singing had grown louder. She heard it even during daylight hours. Her neighbors heard nothing when they visited her home. I suspected her mind was affected by loneliness. Then others reported the same symptoms. A farmer named Robert Gould heard the singing near the stone circle. A shepherdess named Anne Price heard it on the western moor. A merchant passing through heard it near the old burial mounds. All described children's voices singing the same incomprehensible words. None could remember the melody afterward. I began to investigate the matter more carefully. The singing always occurred near ancient sites: stone circles, burial cairns, standing stones, places where the old people left their marks upon the land. I decided to visit the stone circle myself at dusk. Margaret Hale accompanied me as she knew the location well. We waited as darkness fell across the moor. The air grew heavy and still. Then I heard them. Children's voices rising from the earth itself. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, sweet and clear, yet filled with terrible sadness. I cannot write the words they sang. My hand refuses to form the letters, but I understood their meaning in that moment. They were calling to someone, asking why they had been left alone, begging to be remembered. Margaret collapsed beside me. I carried her back to the village. She passed peacefully in her sleep that same night. The physician who examined her found no cause. Her face held an expression of deep sorrow. The singing continued throughout that winter. 17 people heard the voices. 4 of them were taken in their sleep. All were found with the same sorrowful expression. By spring, the singing had stopped, but something had changed upon the moor. Shepherds avoid certain areas now. Travellers take longer routes around the old stones. Dogs refuse to cross specific paths. I have studied the history of this region. Long ago, children were brought to these sites for ceremonies. What happened to them was not recorded clearly. The accounts speak only of offerings and appeasement. I believe those voices belong to souls that cannot rest. They remain bound to the stones and the earth. They call out still, hoping someone will answer. I hear them sometimes in my dreams. The same sad melody, the same words I cannot speak. I wake knowing they are still out there, singing in the darkness. Dr. William Ashford, physician, Dartmoor, Devon, 2nd November 1641. Archivists. Note: Dr. Nathaniel Ashcroft. Archaeological surveys near the described stone circle revealed remains of 38 children, dated between 800 to 1200 CE. Local folklore mentions the singing stones, though details have been lost to time. End of file. Case closed to public record. The original document remains sealed within the vaults of the British Museum. The NOA Archive remains committed to documenting phenomena that defy conventional understanding. These cases are submitted for academic review and further investigation. Further access requires written authorization or curiosity strong enough to ignore the warnings. Until next time, These are the National Occult Archives,